Hello, my name is Jeff Shaw, and this is Davis Media Accesses in the studio. Today we're joined by Erin Donley Marineau, the Executive Director of Tree Davis. We're going to be talking specifically about the 30th anniversary of Tree Davis, but we're also going to just be talking about Tree Davis in general. And anyway, Erin, thanks for joining us today. It's very good to see you. Um,
Thanks so
I,
much
I
for having
wonder,
me, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
of course, I'm wondering for those who have not heard of Tree Davis, although there's probably very few people who haven't, but could you give a little bit of background on Tree Davis and sort of some of the history of the organization?
Sure, absolutely. So Tree Davis is your local nonprofit that focuses on planting trees and growing community. We were founded in 1992, and the mission of our organization is to enhance and expand the urban forest by teaching the people of our community to plant and care for trees.
And any organization that's been around for 30 years, as Tree Davis has, I'm sure has faced many challenges. Some of them were probably before you were there, but I'm wondering if you could share, just for those of us who also work in nonprofits, what are some of the challenges that Tree Davis has seen over the years?
Oh, absolutely. And if it's okay, I think I'll start actually by talking about how Tree Davis's founding actually solved a problem here in the city of Davis. So, as I mentioned, Tree Davis was founded in 1992 by a collection of very forward thinking and thoughtful people. Bob Cordray, who was the Parks and Open Space Administrator for the city of Davis, worked in collaboration with Lois Wolk, at the time mayor of City of Davis. Richard Harris, who is the former International Society of Arboriculture president, and Robert Deering, who was the creator of the first landscape architecture curriculum at UC Davis. This collection of people came together because they knew that one of the things that makes Davis a really special place to live is our abundant green spaces, our parks, our green belts, our open spaces, and it's a lot of space for a small community to care for. So these folks came together with the idea that a public nonprofit partnership could help to enhance the way that these parks and green spaces are cared for by bringing the people of the community together to work as volunteers, to work as board members at Tree Davis, to work at staff as Tree Davis, to make public dollars go farther, and making sure that we have a beautiful green spaces for everyone to enjoy. So that was sort of the problem that Tree Davis was founded to address. And as you mentioned, over the course of 30 years, that's a long time for an organization to be functioning. And I recently came across a New Yorker cartoon where the image is a therapist speaking to a man laying down on the couch, and she's saying, "No wonder you're exhausted. Changing the world is exhausting business." And
Yes.
that is true for nonprofits. That's true for any nonprofit organization. Any nonprofit faces challenges, and most of these challenges can fit into one of two categories: capital and capacity. That's how we make things happen. And, you know, in the many seasons that Tree Davis has seen over the last 30 years, the goal is always to try to have predictable and flexible funding, to have forward looking programs and staff capacity to deliver the right services to the right populations. And any nonprofit organization over the course of 30 years has its fat years, its lean years, its
Yes.
periods of sustained staff, and periods of sometimes frequent leadership turnover. So there have been ups and downs. But I would say the mainstay of this organization is that the people of the community pull together to make it what it is. We've always had fantastic board members. We've always had fantastic partnerships, and it's really that community glue that has kept Tree Davis strong for 30 years.
Yeah, and I've always kind of wondered if Tree Davis is unique to Davis because there is such a sort of civic participation element to Davis and everyone who lives in Davis, or if this model was sort of borrowed from elsewhere, and or if it's replicated in other places. I'm sure you're aware of are there other places that have such a nonprofit as Tree Davis?
Absolutely. There are models like Tree Davis all across the nation, all around the world. Our neighbor, just across the causeway, the Sacramento Tree Foundation. They've been around much, I don't know exactly how long, but longer than Tree Davis. And then our neighbors to the north in Woodland, there's the Woodland Tree Foundation. There are fantastic partners. There are groups like this all over the state of California, and sort of the umbrella organization for urban forestry nonprofit organizations is called California Relief. And they
Hmm.
help all of these nonprofits network. They help the urban forestry nonprofits come together for state level advocacy around urban forestry issues. So this is a model that exists in many, many places.
Yeah, and I mean it's such a great mission, and I can't imagine anybody being against the mission, and so it's just a natural fit. I'm glad Tree Davis is part of that larger network. Let's talk a little bit about current programs. I mean, it's been 30 years, but what are some of the current programs that Tree Davis is working on right now?
Absolutely. So we're very, very lucky to be working in partnership with the city of Davis on one of our current programs that we call Community Canopy. And this is a partnership both with the city of Davis and with CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE is the state forestry agency, and they are the granting agency. The money comes through Proposition 68. And over the past almost 3 years, we have been giving away free trees to residents all across Davis, focusing on underrepresented communities, focusing on communities that have lower median income. And we have planted, I think, like 996 trees. We've almost planted 1,000
Wow.
trees. And by this time next year, we will have completed the planting program, as well as an urban forestry management plan with through the city of Davis with a 40-year time horizon to help make sure that with all of these baby trees that we've planted, there's a long-term view of tree care, and not just for the baby trees, but thinking about the succession processes, thinking about how do we continue to have a mature urban forest canopy and always bringing up the next generation of healthy young trees.
Yeah, I like the forward-thinking aspect of that. And I guess since you're almost to 1,000 trees, does that mean are people still eligible, or is it sort of everything's in process already for that program?
Good question. Good question. So the short answer is we're still offering trees. As we begin to think about wrapping up the grant, we actually do a full scale monitoring project where we go back and we lay hands on every single tree. And inevitably, part of nature is that in any kind of tree population or animal population, there's a certain amount of expected mortality. Even when we do our very, very best to keep every single tree alive, especially in a drought, some of the trees have already died that we have planted. It's a small percentage, it's only about 6% or something like that. But we have to replace all of those trees before the end of the grant period. So we're continuing to give trees away at this point.
Yeah, when you're dealing with living things like trees, I imagine it's an ongoing process like that. I've been to.
Always.
I wanted to mention the Memorial Grove Garden. I've been there, and I thought it was such a. If you could briefly talk about tribute trees in the Memorial Grove Garden, I think it's a really unique idea. And if we could just, yeah, spend a couple minutes telling folks about that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. And the tribute tree program and the Memorial Grove is sort of the hub between the past and the future. So Tree Davis has been the steward of a Memorial Grove space in West Davis. It's right next to the White Sands Mini Park and the University Retirement Community. We've been stewarding this space for a couple of decades, and the idea traditionally behind this space is anybody from the community that would like to remember a loved one or make a tribute to a living loved one can make a donation to Tree Davis, and we help them plant a tree in honor or in memory of an event, a person, an anniversary, any sort of heartfelt occasion. We help them plant a tree for that, and that person can come back to that tree over time and have a place of peace and a place of repose where they can be thoughtful and just really honor that person's memory. So that's a program we've been doing for a couple of decades now, and that program is still happening. So if anybody would like to
Hmm.
uh, donate to have a loved one commemorated, you can look at our website. We have a section specifically for tribute trees that you can click on to get some more information. But another special thing about this space, I mentioned linking the past and the future. I've just described the past, and in terms of looking to the future, this is our demonstration site for one of our newest projects, which is called Climate Ready Landscapes. And so, what we're doing with Climate Ready Landscapes is we're thinking not just about the trees themselves that are being planted, but we're thinking about the landscape in which we are planting trees. So we're broadening our view a little bit to include the understory community around trees, to think about some of the low-lying plants and how we can maximize ecological benefit of these places where we are planting trees, how we can minimize water usage as we prepare for more intense and more frequent droughts, and how we can really protect the benefits of urban heat mitigation that trees and green spaces give us. We want to protect those things as the climate continues to warm, as we expect more and more extreme heat days. So, what we're doing is we are transforming the landscape at the Tree Davis Memorial Grove in the White Sands Mini Park. And we're specifically planting tree species that are projected to perform better under future climate conditions. So we call those climate ready trees. And then in the understory environment, we're selecting native plants, we're selecting drought tolerant plants, and we're thinking about beautifying this space, making sure that there are seasonal blooms, fall color, making it
Right.
appealing in appearance, but then simultaneously bringing in the benefits of having plants for pollinators, making sure that we have habitat for birds and for other wildlife, and then simultaneously relying less on mowing, fertilizer inputs, relying less on irrigation, and having a more drought tolerant, climate ready space.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space, and like I mentioned before, I have been there, and it's just a really impressive. The whole tree program, I had no idea that it's been going on that long, but it's also a just sort of a unique way to involve people in the urban canopy, and in particular that Memorial Grove space and how it's transformed into an ecological sort of demonstration. I encourage everyone to go visit it and take a look at it. It's a very unique space. When I was out there, there was tons of volunteers, and it's something I noticed as well on your website. And I think Tree Davis is known for getting volunteers involved, planting trees. I noticed that on your website right now, there's a lot of mulching opportunities. And so it seems like there's seasonal work that happens. I was kind of curious just to know, does this work happen all around town? Is it mostly on public space? I know it's been sort of the bedrock of what Tree Davis does, but it's a pretty well known way to get involved. And I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit about the spaces where people work.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, our volunteers are what make Tree Davis shine. We couldn't do what we do without our volunteers. And so, in terms of deciding where we work, deciding how we work, that's always an ongoing conversation with the city of Davis. So, we work with the Parks Department, we work with the Public Works Department, and we help think about the annual cycles of tree pruning, thinking about the seasonality of when is the best time to plant trees. And that season, unfortunately, is getting shorter and shorter because winter is getting warmer and warmer and summer is getting longer. So
Thanks.
typically, we start planting in the fall, and we used to plant all the way out into May. But usually we stop planting now, sort of at the beginning of April, because we often aren't getting substantial rainfall at that point. We might get a little bit today, maybe. But then, yeah, at this time of year, we typically transition to thinking more about preparing the landscapes and preparing the trees for the coming heat in the summertime. So, getting that mulch on the ground helps a lot with soil moisture retention. And it's one of the best things we can do to just sort of batten down the hatches and get the trees through the summer.
Yeah.
So, if anybody would
And
like
these
to
are,
join us for that, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, yeah, and could go to your website, I assume, if people want to join, right? But and
Absolutely.
these are mostly public spaces. I was kind of curious if, as far as partnerships and institutions that you work with? Obviously, the city of Davis, because you do work in all these public spaces. Are there any private spaces that you guys also work in? Is it mostly city of Davis public space?
It's mostly City of Davis public spaces. In our ordinance, most private residences have an easement space in the first 10 feet of the property adjacent to the sidewalk. That's technically an easement space. So those trees that are in that easement space are technically city street trees. So even though it's at someone's house, that's still technically sort of public space we're working in. But we do plant trees in those spaces, and we do go back and monitor and care for those trees, mulch the trees, do all of the full service care that the trees need, even in those spaces.
It's hard to imagine the scope of work. There's so many beautiful trees in Davis, and it really is one of the gems of Davis is the urban canopy, especially in the valley. Or having those trees, especially in the valleys, is super nice. Let's talk briefly now about the 30th anniversary. It's coming up. I know you have an event planned. Could you give us some of the details on that event?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very excited. There's going to be a party. We hope you all will join us. So this is going to be on April 30th. And again, April, easy to remember, April 30th anniversary. It'll be, first, there's going to be a big bike tree tour. So we're going to be meeting at 1009 Kent Drive. And that's going to be the beginning of the Great Tree Search Bike Tour. That's going to be at 8:45 a.m. And we're going to visit several great trees, hear some stories about our beloved trees in West Davis, and then the bike tour will conclude at the Memorial Grove. So as Jeff mentioned, this is a really special demonstration site, and this is the opportunity for everyone to come and see what we have going on there with regard to climate ready landscapes. And we'll just have a celebration. There's going to be cake for everyone. We will read the Arbor Day proclamation because National Arbor Day is 2 days before that. And yeah, we'll just have some old photos where people can remember all 30 years of Tree Davis. We'll talk a little bit about our 30-year impact and just have a really good time at the Memorial Grove. I hope everyone will come out.
Excellent. And I know since there's so many community members who've been involved with Tree Davis, I'm sure it'll be a great turnout, and everyone will get a chance to see each other after 2 years of a pandemic. Also, what's the address again
Yes.
where people will be meeting for the bike portion of that?
1009 Kent Drive. And that'll be on our website also. You can find that.
All right. And yeah, if people wanted to find out more, obviously the website is the place to go. Is there anything else you wanted to add? And I imagine it's going to be a fantastic event on April 30th.
I'm just so grateful to everybody in this community for helping Tree Davis be what it is today. Honestly, there have been so many amazing community members that have contributed in so many ways, from our board members to our city partners, our state partners, partners in neighboring cities, our partner organizations like the Woodland Tree Foundation and the Sacramento Tree Foundation. I'm very privileged to have been in this executive director role for the past 5 years because I've gotten to be a part of this legacy and just get to know the amazing people that started this organization and sustained it over time. And we're all still working together to work into the future. So thank you, community. Thank you.
That's great, Erin. And yes, thanks so much for joining us this morning and talking about Tree Davis. I wish you the best of luck and 30 more years for Tree Davis building the
Yay.
urban canopy in Davis. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it.